What goes up must come down. Welcome to the Brand Breakdown. I'm Michelle.
And I'm Courtney.
And this is where we're going to track the rise and fall of big brands, from companies to celebs to pop culture phenoms and everything in between. Let's get started. Hey everybody, welcome back. It's been a minute. We're so excited to be back here today and to be talking about the hot goss on the royal family with Prince Andrew and his poor sweet little daughters and his really strangely involved ex-wife.
Strangely involved.
I don't know why she's involved. It's
they
so
love
weird.
each other.
I don't know, but it's weird. So anyway, we're going to talk about what's been going on across the pond. And if you're listening across the pond, we're going to talk about what's going on in your neck of the woods. Anyway, here is our royal aficionado, Courtney, to tell us all about it. Hello, my friend.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, so Andrew is just like the gift that keeps on giving for content creators, I guess.
Right? He is a hot mess.
Yeah.
I mean, holy cannoli.
Yeah.
He's a hot mess.
I think, our listeners haven't heard this yet, but when we do our season 3 Andrew Mountbatten Windsor series of Brand Breakdown, they'll, I think, start to get some insight into like why he is the way he is. But like the man just can't get out of his own way and can't see anything that he's doing with any sort of like outside perspective of whether or not it's a good decision. Like he just doesn't seem to know how to make a good decision. And
yeah, it's sort of weird.
Yeah, it's like, I think he thinks he's infallible, right? Like he's like really has bought into the idea of like royalty is untouchable or something because
I think more than infallible, he thinks he's untouchable.
Yeah.
And I think that he is now learning that he is not only not untouchable, but he could potentially go to jail for the things that he allegedly did.
Yeah.
So here we are.
Let's back up because what are the things he allegedly did, right? We haven't. Yeah. We're jumping in the middle, but as we all know, Prince Andrew has been implicated in the Epstein scandal since like 2019 when Virginia Joffrey.
It's a hard one.
Yeah, a lot of extra letters in there. Virginia Joffrey accused him of essentially, like she was essentially trafficked to have relations with him. Mm-hmm.
And we don't actually know what those relations were, to be clear.
Right.
Like, I don't think they've ever specified what that meant, what that was.
Right.
And the documents were sealed after he agreed to a settlement or whatever.
Yep. Yeah. The Queen paid a settlement. Documents were sealed. She dropped any sort of allegations against him. And he always denied it. He always said wasn't true. Although, he said the picture that is me and her, like, that's not real. And it turns out, yes, it is. And he says like, he never went to, like, he wasn't that close with Jeffrey Epstein. Like, yes, he was. And like, he was at the island and all that stuff. So he's been implicated in the Epstein scandal for quite a while now. He was one of the first like big names to kind of be brought out in public. And he's always denied it. He did his horrible interview that went terribly wrong, denying the allegations.
Bless his heart. Bless his heart.
Yeah. But for Andrew, it's always been the story that wouldn't go away because even though there was a settlement, even though they started, looking at other people, his name just always comes back to the top when it comes to the Epstein stuff. And it's because he keeps getting caught in the lies, just like over and over again.
Yeah, I think that there was no transparency. So I think that's a big part of it. I think that he was one of the wealthiest, most prominent figures, for a long time. I mean, now we know there's a whole bunch of others in there. And lots of people, and I'm not going to name names in this podcast, but lots of people, if you go and Google it, are doing the apology tour for their ex-wives and their current wives and all of the world to say
losing their jobs, having to resign.
Yeah. I'm so sorry about the Russians. There's a lot of apology tours going on, but I think he had zero transparency and he came across as so arrogant that I think people were delighted in gleefully taking him down.
Yeah.
I think
that his absolute lack of remorse in any way and like lack of accountability really just made people be like, dude, even if you didn't do it, I don't like you. Like you are no longer a likable figure that I want to root for. And if you don't go down for this, I want you to go down for something else, which it appears is exactly what's happening.
He's not likable. And I mean, he really truly isn't.
Yeah. I mean, I used to be an Andrew fan. I was a Fergie fan. And now I'm kind of like, okay, what are these people doing? Like, they're no more just like the bumbling. Daughters. I love their daughters. Adore. I think they're wonderful. And I feel terrible for them.
Sweet people. Yeah.
Yeah. And they are getting dragged through the mud and their whole life is about, but we're getting ahead of ourselves.
True that.
So the interesting thing about the Epstein stuff, as we're like seeing here in the United States, but also in the UK with Andrew specifically, is that no charges have ever been brought. There hasn't been anything for Andrew specifically to be tried and convicted on because no criminal charges have ever been filed. It was always said that there just wasn't enough evidence to open like a criminal case against him. So although he keeps coming up and coming up and coming up, and now, I mean, we've got like photographs and everything that have come out of the files.
Oh, the new photograph. That's
like
problematic.
It's a disaster. But somehow, some way, these people, with the exception of Ghislaine Maxwell, nobody faces any sort of like legal repercussion from any of this. Well, we know why, right? Like people in high places.
Yeah, we're not going to mention those people.
Yeah. But for Andrew, a few years ago, back in actually 2012, I think, he was removed from his position as the trade envoy to the UK, or the UK's trade envoy, because there were allegations that he was abusing his position. He was making deals with people for personal gain. He was, getting money on the side to connect certain people, like investors or whoever, with like members of the royal family or politicians, and he was taking a fee for that, which he shouldn't have been doing. So he was removed from his position as the UK trade envoy, and that caused some drama at the time, but he kind of like skated by, like it kind of just was swept under the rug. This was around the time, 2012. William and Kate had recently been married. It was the Queen's like Jubilee year. The London Olympics were happening. Like a lot of stuff was going on or had just happened. I can't remember the exact time frame of when the trade envoy stuff happened, but like the royal family was extremely like highly favored at that point. Like just, they could do no wrong. They had had a banner year of the London Olympics, the Jubilee. William and Kate had gotten married like the year before or 2 years before. Harry was out and about with William and Kate all the time. They were like the fab trio. Invictus Games was like kind of getting started. So like the royals could do no wrong. And the trade envoy stuff kind of just got like moved away, swept under the rug, which seemed to always be what happened with Andrew. Like every sort of like hint of a scandal just like swept away. No big deal. And so what's coming up now with Andrew is that through the Epstein files, there's the realization that he may have been, actually to back up, about a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, I think a year ago, there was allegations that Andrew had been in discussions, in communications with a spy, I believe a Chinese spy. And people were kind of like, doing what? And it was, I think the way the story panned out was that Andrew's an idiot and didn't realize that he was being like scammed by a spy and potentially giving away secrets and all that stuff. So he had already been kind of removed from public life for the Epstein fallout. Then this like Chinese spy thing comes out, which infuriates the king and William even further because they're like, dude, get your shit together. Stop talking to people. Go away. Like, especially William. Like William has no patience or tolerance, like just none for his uncle. Whereas Charles, that's his little brother. They're siblings. I think he'll always have like a bit of a soft spot. Obviously, you love your siblings. Right now. But William is just like, he's just never really enjoyed the presence of Andrew or Fergie. Fergie was not invited to his wedding, to William and Kate's wedding.
Really?
Yeah. So William has always been a little bit like keeping Andrew at arm's length because he just didn't like him, just didn't vibe with all the stuff that William probably knew was like going on behind the scenes, like, you know, that trade envoy stuff, whatever. So the Chinese spy thing comes out. Charles and William are like even more irritated and incensed by the situation. And that is when Andrew gets kicked out of Royal Lodge. Like the king says, enough is enough. We're not doing this anymore with the back and forth of, can you stay at Royal Lodge? Where are you going to go? Like, that's it. You're done. You're going to be out by, I think originally the date was like, I think it was like originally he was going to be out by Christmas, and then it kind of got extended a little bit. And after the Chinese spy stuff, more Epstein file stuff starts coming, or Epstein files start coming out, right? Like they're released. Now we can all just like peruse them at our leisure, which to be honest, I have not done because I don't want to be like traumatized in that way.
It is very traumatizing.
But what I
Even
see,
the stuff that I've seen on podcasts is traumatizing.
Yeah, like the stuff I see on social media is more than enough to let me know that I do not want to go personally doing a deep dive into those files because I don't think I could stomach. I know I couldn't stomach it. But so through the release of the Epstein files, they start realizing that there's the possibility that Andrew has been in communication with and providing, I don't want to call them like state secrets, but information that maybe should have been kept a little closer to the vest to people he should not have been giving that information to. People from, you know, politicians from other countries, high-powered individuals from other countries, just, I mean, really anybody who shouldn't have like maybe some government information. And so that is what Andrew was arrested for or detained for. Detained and booked. I don't know if that's really different than being arrested. But that is why a week ago.
Detained is different from being arrested.
Yeah. Like, what was it? 2 weeks ago now? Mm-hmm. A bunch of police officers show up on the Sandringham estate at Wood. I think it's called Wood Farm, which is the house that he is staying in right now while his cottage gets fixed up. And when I say cottage, like it's probably like a 6-bedroom house. Like it's not a cottage like we would think of it. But he's been staying at Wood Farm while his permanent residence gets fixed up because Charles and William had just put their foot down and been like, out. You're out of Windsor Park. You're out of Royal Lodge. You're going up to Sandringham. We need you away. And then a bunch of cops show up at Wood Farm and at Royal Lodge. A coordinated effort so that Andrew would not have time to remove any files, get a heads up. And he was detained, brought to the police station up in Sandringham is in Norfolk. So brought to a police station up there while police officers went through all his belongings and gathered whatever information they were looking for. And I believe he was at the police station for I think it was 11 hours. Like he was there all day. We saw the photograph of him leaving the police station, just looking.
He looked like Nosferatu.
Yeah, it was not. So now I always say with photographs, they're a split second in time. So he could have been about to sneeze or something, but the image that got plastered,
it's terrible.
It was the worst picture. He looks like he is just completely shell-shocked.
He looked like he was in an episode of The Walking Dead.
Yeah, it's the worst photograph of anybody I've ever seen.
So bad.
It's horrible. I
mean, I'm not photogenic, but that was extra special.
And it was weird that he was leaning back.
What was he doing? Nosferatu, dude.
Yeah.
He looks like, Dracula's sire.
Yeah.
He looked bad.
It was not great. And so
no, it was not good.
That's the one image of him we get through this whole thing. I'm sure there's others, but everyone seems to have agreed we're only going to show this one.
Yeah.
And Andrew is, unfortunately for his daughters and Fergie, although maybe not so much with Fergie, but Andrew is cast further to the outside, right? Now he's got criminal charges coming, or he's got some sort of charges coming, likely. We don't know exactly what they are, but they have to do with state information being disseminated to people who shouldn't have it. They haven't gone as far as to say it's state secrets or treason or highly classified information or anything like that. But we do know that it's not related to anything regarding the Epstein files in terms of any sort of like physical acts or trafficking or anything like that. It's to do with information being disseminated to people who were not supposed to have it.
Okay, I'm going to interject for just one hot second.
Yep.
I was listening to a podcast yesterday, Diary of a CEO, DOAC. I love it. It's Stephen Bartlett. And he was interviewing Gavin DeBecker, who is the premier security guy in the world, probably.
Yes.
Who provides security for all the people you would think he would provide security
Kardashians.
For, right?
I think he's done Harry and Meghan a few times. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm talking like Bezos and Bill Gates and you know, the people who have all the money, Musk, you know, whoever. Now, he doesn't disclose his client list, but I'm 100% sure that he helps those people. So one of the things he said in the podcast I was listening to, which I think is a little bit of an older podcast, I think it's from last year, maybe towards the end of the year, is that Epstein was an asset for a foreign government.
Yes, I have seen that.
Yeah, because he was recording and had cameras in all of his homes and his island and his apartments and all that. They all were.
Yeah, people don't usually document their crimes as thoroughly as that man appears to have documented. And every time I see a picture of someone come out, I'm like, oh, that picture was taken for blackmail. 1,000%. That extremely weird picture that you would never take of anybody was taken because he was holding it over all of these people.
Right. So what he said was that he was, you know, an asset of a foreign government and used all the things that happened in his homes and his islands and all that as blackmail fodder to get these people on the hook so that he could use them for whatever purposes he wanted to.
Yeah.
And
I buy that.
I don't know if that's true. I totally buy it. I don't know if it's true, but Gavin DeBecker is an incredibly smart person who has a lot of connections. So if he's saying it out loud on a podcast,
right,
or allegedly, you know, alleging that it happened.
I feel like we have to have a big like allegedly, just like
that might need to be the name of this episode. Allegedly,
the name of our whole series going forward.
Yeah, all of this allegedly happened. But it makes perfect sense. And it makes perfect sense that someone like Andrew, who would have so many connections and whatever, that maybe at some point he said, no, I'm not playing your game. And then those photographs surfaced. You know what I'm saying?
No.
So I don't know. Allegedly, all of this is alleged.
Allegedly.
Yeah, because we are just, you know, we're not even reporters. We're just content creators.
We're just gossiping.
We don't know. We're just hot goss. That's
hot
all.
Goss.
Hot goss. Anyway, continue.
So Andrew gets dragged down. Fergie, who had been living with her ex-husband for the last like 30 years, 20 years. I think like they got divorced 30 years ago, 10 years they kind of like stayed apart. And then 20 years ago, they moved back in together and she had been living in Royal Lodge. So when Andrew is forced out of Royal Lodge, Fergie kind of goes missing a little bit. Like nobody really knows where she is. I think she has a property in London. She used to have a property in Verbier. Is that how you say it? In the Swiss Alps or whatever. I don't know where she is. We don't know where she is.
Sounds very fancy.
Extremely fancy, yes. She had a ski chalet that's like a 10,000 square foot lodge.
I wouldn't call that a chalet. I would just call that like a, you know, estate.
Yeah. And so Fergie kind of goes missing, keeps her head down, stays out of the public eye. And then Andrew gets this visit from the police. And reports start coming out that Fergie has checked herself into a facility, the same type of facility, you know, the starlets of the early aughts would check into for exhaustion, that type of thing. We're not going to call it like
a spa.
Yeah. Like we're not going to call it like a rehab or a mental health facility. It's kind of like the intersection of those two things.
That is a spa.
Yes.
She's at a spa.
And so reports are that Fergie is not doing well. Her mental health is just like totally tanking. She starts appearing in the Epstein files as this sycophant. Like she is reaching out to Epstein being like, you know, thank you so much. Like, I loved speaking to you. Why are you not talking to me? Where have you been? Like, it seems like she's kind of like in love with him, has a crush on him.
No, I don't think so. But then when she said, you should marry me or I should marry you. Yeah, that was really weird. I think that she was trying to be like a coquettish, like I'm a lot younger than I really am, and I'm flirting with you to get what I want, which is what she wanted, was connections, money,
Right.
etc.
And Epstein had paid a lot of her debts in the past. Like he had paid off millions of dollars in debt for her. And even oh, go ahead.
Sorry. Which interestingly, his job, his $500 million that he had, or over $1 billion or whatever, his job did not yield that sort of income, which is why people believed that he might be getting money from foreign sources.
Right.
So I read other people might have been allegedly paying those debts.
I read an article that was saying that one of his biggest, and I think maybe at one point his only client, like he only had like one client, and it was like his first client he ever really got. It was the guy who owned the Limited, L Brands, Wexler.
What's his first name? Is it Alex?
It's L something, like Lou or...
Lou Wexley?
Yeah, like Lou Wexler or something. I don't know. But apparently, like back in the 80s and 90s, this was Epstein's only client and was his only client for a while. And so people are like, how did you make more money than your client had off of one client? Like that's... Yeah. That doesn't add up. It's all... That's weird.
It's all suspect, allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. So Fergie goes into hiding essentially because she's coming out of this looking terrible. Like after Epstein is investigated for sex trafficking back in like the early 2000s, like 2008 or 2009, when he, I think, went to jail the first time, she's emailing him like, oh, I would love to see you again. Oh, like it's horrible the things they're saying about you. And people are like, why is she talking to him? Like, Andrew had said I hadn't been in communication with him for years. Like after the first conviction, I cut off all contact. So why is his ex-wife that lives with him emailing him all the time? Seems weird. Mm-hmm. And then it comes out that after his conviction, Fergie had gone to lunch with Epstein and brought her daughters, who at the time were like 18 and 20 or something like that. Like, why would you bring... Now, granted, her daughters are not like little girls, but why would you bring your daughters anywhere near this person who's just been convicted of sex trafficking? And like, what kind of mother is that?
So the grossest thing that she said in any of her emails, in my opinion, was when she was talking about her one child who was going to go have a quote unquote shagging weekend with her boyfriend. Yeah. If my mother ever said something like that about me, I would be mortified. I would never forgive her. I would horrified. Like you kind of like as a parent, right? Like your daughter who's been dating her boyfriend for a while goes away with her boyfriend for the weekend. You're like, you're not stupid, right? Like you're like, okay, this is probably happening. But you're not talking about it.
Right. Like you don't say it out loud.
And you would never say it
to someone who's been convicted of sex trafficking.
Right. And you wouldn't even say it to your husband. Like if I even suspected one of my children was doing that with someone, I would never talk to my husband about it specifically because he don't want to know. He don't want to know his babies are doing this something that, like you're not married. Like
even I could see having a conversation like, hey, are the kids being safe? Do we need to have a talk? Like that type of conversation, but not just like jokingly, cavalierly being like, hey, my daughter is getting railed this weekend.
To use the word shag and like the whole thing was just gross.
It was gross.
It was just gross.
And then when you consider the audience of this,
it was just gross.
A convicted sex trafficker. Like, why are you talking? So she brings her daughters to lunch with this man. So now her daughters are appearing in the Epstein files and her daughters are brought into this situation and people are like, how much did they know? Were they aware of the type of person he was? Were they friendly with him? Did they go along with this stuff? Were they ever put into a compromising position by their parents? Like things that if my parents brought me into a situation like that, I would never speak to my parents again. You know what I mean? Like they have put them in such a horrible position.
Well, I'm 100% sure that the girls did not know at the time when they were out to lunch with him or whatever it was.
He had just been convicted of sex trafficking. It was in the news.
But I just think if I wouldn't ask, like, granted, my kids know who Jeffrey Epstein is just because everyone does at this point. But if I had asked them a year ago who Jeffrey Epstein was.
But if Jeffrey Epstein was your close personal friend who had been in the news because he was a convicted sex trafficker. And then your mom, 2 days after he gets out of jail, is like, hey, let's go to Jeff's house for lunch. Wouldn't you be like,
so
no,
gross.
thanks?
I mean, and okay, so let's say like maybe Fergie's not the brightest bulb in the world, allegedly.
There's
maybe
that, allegedly.
But protect your children.
Right.
Protect your, like your first job as a mother or a parent is to protect your child.
Yeah.
Always, at all times. As much as you possibly can.
Even though her daughters were grown women at that point, you still don't want that kind of scummy person around them. Like,
I have a 19-year-old and I don't consider my 19-year-old to be a fully grown adult. I'm so sorry.
Right.
Like, check with me again when they're 25.
25. Okay. Yeah. But yeah, like, I mean, the thing is, I bet I'm 38 years old. I don't think my mom would want me around that type of person at 38. You know what I mean? Like, you never want your child around that type of person, regardless of how old they are. And so now the York princesses are brought into this drama.
Bless them.
They've already had to deal with their father going through this stuff back in 2019. They had to deal with their parents having affairs back in the 90s, late 80s, early 90s. They've had to deal with their parents' public divorce. Then they've had to deal with all the other stuff that goes on with the royal family, all the Harry and Meghan drama, all of the at William and Catherine's wedding where they got mocked mercilessly for the hat, the fascinator. It wasn't great.
Well, it was bad.
Those were some poor fashion choices. But like, they've been mocked for their weight. They've had to watch their mother get dragged through the media, getting made fun of for decades. And like, they've been through enough, these girls, I feel. And now they have to deal with this.
Very private to me, and I don't blame them.
They do, yeah. They both have, now granted, I'm going to call them like regular 9-to-5 jobs. Mm-hmm. I don't know how like regular they are. Eugenie works in the art world. She is like a art curator or she works for like an auction house or something, an art dealer maybe. Mm-hmm. And Beatrice is a vice president at a software company or like a technology company. They have like pretty regular jobs. Beatrice's husband is an architect and a designer. He designs, I mean, I'm saying he's like an architect and like he designs and builds homes. These are like multi-million-dollar estates that he builds and like extremely luxurious properties. He's not building like the house down the street. And Eugenie's husband works for he used to work for George Clooney's tequila brand as like a brand rep. And now he works at a like resort in Portugal selling property, like normal people, wealthy, generationally wealthy people, but like they have normal jobs. They have private lives. We never see their kids. Even when they post pictures on their own social medias, we get like the back of the head, the hand, you know what I mean? Like we're not getting their kids like paraded out in public.
They don't live in Portugal though, do they?
Or they live half the year in Portugal.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't think I even knew that. See, that's how private they are.
Yeah. So they don't, Eugenie and her husband live in Portugal half the year. Beatrice and her husband have an apartment at St. James. And then I believe their main house is in the Cotswolds. They have a big house out there. And Eugenie and Jack, when they are in the UK, they were staying at Harry and Meghan's house. After Harry and Meghan left, they took up the lease on that. I'm not sure if they still are or not. I think they might still be. That might be their like UK base. I'm not sure. But just I want to normal as you can be when your grandmother was the queen and your uncle is the king and your father was born a prince, whatever.
Not super normal, but normal-ish.
Yes, normal-ish. And now they're being dragged through all this drama. Again, like these poor girls, their whole life has just been living in their parents' embarrassing shadows. Like, it's horrible. And now, to rub salt in the wound, it has been decided that things like attending Ascot, they will no longer be able to attend Ascot sitting in the royal box. I don't think they can be barred from attending, but they're not going to be part of the carriage procession. They're not going to be in the royal box. They're not being allowed necessarily to take like a public facing royal role, which for a little while it had been kind of touted that perhaps Beatrice specifically would take up some more public duties in the absence of Harry and Meghan. And she would, start doing more public engagements. And now they being the York princesses, have been like indefinitely sidelined. Like there's no hope of them having a public role. They're not even being allowed to attend like events that are just kind of seen as like the social season events and being able to take advantage of the perks of being royal. And they've already had to deal with like, their father losing his Duke of York HRH title. Then he loses his princely style. His mother, like their mother just being trashed constantly in the media. And so I don't even know.
Constantly trashed.
I don't even know like what those two poor girls, I mean, I know what they must be thinking. I don't know how they're handling it. Like, I don't know how they could possibly, they were photographed a couple weeks ago. Like they had gone out for coffee in London and they were like chatting while they were like walking down the street or whatever. And they're being photographed because people are like, oh yay, drama. Like, let's get pictures of them. And it's like, they probably had to go out and get like they had to go out knowing they're going to get photographed so they can kind of like save face and be like, we're here. It's okay. You're not going to ruin our life. But like, ugh, I can't even imagine.
I don't want to be famous for that reason.
No. And like, it's just everything that they have to deal with is because their parents can't just make like one good decision. Like, because their father and mother just make bad decision after bad decision, allegedly. But like, even the bad, like, they just make stupid decisions. Like, even the things that are not like illegal or immoral necessarily are still, it's like, why would you do that? Like, why?
They seem financially driven. All of their decisions seem financially driven to me.
Yeah.
And I just wonder if that, because I remember even back in the day, 35 years ago, Fergie made so many bad decisions financially when she was married and then not married to Andrew. And I just feel like so much of what they do is financially driven.
Yeah.
And as you know, and we both know, like, when your finances are in trouble or you have something going on financially, it's, or your job's not going well, or you have to get a new job, or maybe you've never had a job. And so you're trying to depend upon the kindness of others.
Right.
I think that you make stupid decisions.
Yeah. And I think that there's
made some silly decisions.
I think too, when it comes to the royals, one of the things that people think like, oh, the royal family, they're loaded. And like, yes, they are extremely wealthy, far wealthier than me. But a lot of that money is not actually money that they can use, right? Like they have a lot of assets, but it's not spendable money. And
it's not liquid.
Right, exactly. They're not liquid. And Andrew in particular, as the second son, doesn't have, like, yes, he had large inheritances that came from his grandmother when she died and stuff like that. But he's not a billionaire. And he's not sitting on these like vast estates. And everything he has is because it's being like leased to him or loaned to him. And it's not actually his. Like, he can't actually, like, he lived in Royal Lodge for 20 years. He couldn't sell that. He couldn't be like, oh, I live in this $20 million mansion and this is an asset that I have that I could sell if I need money. No, it's not. It's not his to sell. So I think that because they're royal, Andrew and Fergie in particular, they have this feeling of, I must keep up. People expect a certain look, a certain feel, a certain presence, but I don't have the money to actually maintain that look and feel and presence. And so I'm going to go into debt. I'm going to accept a bunch of favors. I'm going to make a couple deals. And they've been trying to keep up with the Joneses. And the Joneses in their case are like the Saudi royals and the Queen of England. You know what I mean? Like, they're keeping up with like the hardest Joneses you could possibly ever try to keep up with.
Right. But what's interesting is that I don't feel like, and I could be totally wrong, and I don't know what their yearly stipend is or whatever, but I don't feel like Kate and William do that. Kate recycles clothing all the time. I mean, I know she gets new clothes a lot, and I know he, probably gets a stipend for all of that stuff. But they seem more frugal to me than Fergie and Andrew, in my opinion. I see your skeptical look, but so maybe not.
I mean, I
don't know what their yearly thing is either.
Yeah. So the way the royal finances are this like extremely, people, like I said, people just think like, oh, you're royal, you have all this money. They their stipend can only be used for official events. And the way it works is like it's like this like weird formula of like income from 5 years prior, 15% of that is then given to the royal household, which is then divvied up. And it's like, they're always working on this, like, you have this much money and it's based on income from like years ago and it has to be paid back. The money that the royals get from the treasury is not like their money. It gets paid back in some way. Now, that said, Kate's clothes and her hair and any private vacations they take, like she had a wardrobe budget from the Duchy of Cornwall when she was the Duchess of Cambridge and when Charles was the Prince of Wales and the Duke of Cornwall. She had like a wardrobe budget. Like the the Cambridges were given an allowance from Charles's private income. And so were Harry and Meghan. They were given an allowance basically from William's father, because the Duchy of Cornwall is the largest, it's like the largest landowner in the UK or something. And the Duchy of Cornwall brings in more money than the Duchy of Lancaster. The Duchy of Lancaster is the private income of the monarch. The Duchy of Cornwall is the private income of the Duke of Cornwall, who happens to also be the Prince of Wales. So that's now William's money. William now has this money that he can be giving to Kate. And it's something, it's like, I don't know how much money it is. I think overall the Duchy of Cornwall is worth like a couple $2 billion, like a few $1 billion. And I think the annual income on it is like $65 million a year, I think, or something like that. Those feel like they're wrong, but it's a lot of money. So now William and Kate have a lot of money. Theoretically, they do pay taxes on it voluntarily, all this other stuff. But before, they were just living on an allowance that had to eventually be like paid back in some regard. So the royal finances is like this whole other thing. Are William and Kate frugal? I don't know. They don't spend money obscenely, but I mean, they've renovated 2 houses in 4 years. 5 years. You know what I mean?
Well,
like,
I guess they give the appearance, more of an appearance of being frugal than
I wouldn't
Andrew
say it's a frugal appearance. I feel like it's a more down to earth appearance.
Like less ostentatious.
Yes.
Less ostentatious.
Yes. Because like when you look at Catherine's clothes, right? Like very traditional, very well tailored, not like overly showy. But it's a skirt that costs $3,000. You know what I mean? Like it's not cheap, but it's not showy.
Okay. They're not frugal like we're frugal.
No, they're not pinching pennies. They're not budgeting. They're not like being like, ooh,
Gotcha.
Should I wait until my next payday to buy this thing? Or can I swing it right now? That's not happening.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Obviously they're not regular people. We know that.
Yeah.
All right. So let's put a pin or wrap this up. Mm-hmm. So where are we now with Andrew? So now we just sit and wait. And the fallout continues.
The fallout continues. Nothing ever seems to be getting better for him. It kind of just keeps getting worse. Although recently, I think yesterday it came out, he'll be allowed to keep the City of London freedom. So like there's some honors that he can retain. But for the most part, it seems like Andrew's going to go back to being a just regular person, and he may end up in jail. We don't know. But depending on what happens with what the police investigation turns up, and if there are criminal charges, he could end up in jail. And that would be...
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. But the king has said he's not going to stand in the way. He's going to let the legal process play out.
Which is bananas.
And I think it's because Charles, but more specifically William, are just so sick of dealing with it. And they're like, you're going to have to face the consequences of the stupid decisions you've been making for 30 years. And you're not taking us down with you. And the only way we can make sure that you don't take the entire monarchy down with you is if we side on the side of the people and law and don't look like we're supporting you in any way. Now, who knows? Privately, Charles might be like, oh, man, bro, you're getting such a short end of the stick. But publicly, Charles is saying, bummer for you, dude. See what happens.
Well, so I guess we'll just keep everybody in the loop as things unfold. But we just kind of wanted to get it out there, like what was happening and how it was happening, because I know more arrests continue in England related to Jeffrey Epstein. Of course, none in the USA.
None.
None
Not
in
a one.
America.
Nobody
Not a
seems
one.
to face any consequences here.
Not a one. But that's not our problem. So anyway, well, we hope you enjoyed this update. And if we get any more breaking news, we will come back and give that to you. Otherwise, look for our next episode on Prince Andrew when he was still a prince.
When he was still a prince. Yes. The teenage years, I think, is what we're coming up to.
Yeah, I think we're at the teenage years. Good to see you, friend.
Good to see you. Talk to you later.
All right, bye.
Bye.